Hi, and welcome to Complete and Cast, the official podcast for Complete and Box video games. This is episode 52, where we take a look at the 10 worst...
Top 10!
Top
Wait,
10! This is
10.
Actually, so I want to say that in YouTube, like, 80% of the videos I watch nowadays are just top 10 lists.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, what culture, like, top 10, games that'll fail in 2019. I can't get enough of it. So here's your top 10, YouTube land. We're giving back. Oh, Parker's here.
Oh, yay. Hey, guess who's here? Parker's here.
So we're talking top 10 worst fan bases in non-sports entertainment. Now let's start with that right there.
Yeah, right.
If we included sports, they would just dominate this list.
It would just be all sports.
My New England Patriots would be top 5.
Easy.
The Philadelphia Eagles would be number 1. I would not accept anything else. No bias to living near to them.
And also no bias to the
I'm over it now.
unmentionable.
I'm over it now. It's over. It's fine. It's all good. We're all good. We're happy here on Complete and Cast. We don't mention... The only time we mention sad things is when we talk to Brian Beversluis every year for NFL mock-up. But this year, we're just going to be good times, Nice. We're just going to talk about all the good stuff. So, we're here talking top 10 worst fan bases. Now, is there anything else we have to go over to kind of clarify?
The only other thing I would clarify is that when we talk about some of these fan bases, obviously, you're listening to a podcast that's on Complete in Box YouTube page. So you're into this kind of, nerd culture or whatever you want to call it. But basically, you're around video games, you're around other these things like that. So, like, some of these fan bases, like, the average person might not even realize has a strong fan base. But we know because we all experience it on a daily basis.
Like Parker was mentioning, both of our wives, if we told them over half of these, they'd be like, "Oh, really?"
They'd be
like half of them, they'd be like, "Okay," and then half of them, they'd be like, "Do people really like X that much?" And we'd be like, "Yes."
Yes.
And
they're super annoying about it.
It's the subculture that we're in or we deal with.
For sure.
So
obviously that's what you're listening to. It's like the fan bases that and once we get started, you'll definitely be like, I see what you're saying.
So we tried to consider pretty much all fan bases of all entertainment things, again, non-sports. We both made our top 10 lists, and it was very simple math. We just took whatever came in number 1 place had the most points.
Right.
And obviously 10th had the least points. We just added both of our scores up. So if, like, for instance, CIB, we both voted as... I voted as number 1, Parker voted as number 10. That would be 10 points for me, 1 point for Parker. That's 11 divided by 2, 5.5. And then we would just take that number and just compare it to all of them. So that's how we came up with this top 10 list.
Yeah.
Very complicated, very scientific.
The Complete in Box fans dominated the list. They were in every slot, 1 through 10, and that was it. So it was a short episode. Clearly you guys are terrible fans and we hate you. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I just say, I want to add myself to the list in... I'm going to become like a tea snob in the near future, and that's fine. I gave up coffee, folks. I would get these bad caffeine headaches on days I didn't work. Well, let me preference by saying on days I worked, I drank a lot of coffee. Right? Long days. Right, folks? Right? Daily grind, huh? And then, like, on days I didn't work, I'd be like, oh, I don't really need coffee. But then I'd be like, boy, is my head hurting. So I just gave it up, cold turkey. That's how you're always supposed to give that stuff up. That's what I've heard. I
feel like it depends on the personality, right? For sure.
I also was completely.
But there are people that's the best way to do it for them. Like, if they ease off it, they'll just always forever.
Yeah.
But if they go cold turkey, they can,
But anyway, I switched to tea. Tea has a little bit of caffeine, which is it's like a percentage compared to coffee. So, you would have to just drink more tea than you can in a day to get like caffeine headaches from tea, right? So I started out with the bags, right? You know, just the little bags, and now I'm doing like the tea strainer thing. Now I'm
injecting it.
Now I'm going to our local
concentrated tea pills.
Well, I didn't realize that our local food eatery. That's what do they call grocery stores around here? They call them chow places.
What do they call grocery stores?
No. But like, what do they call them in like the slang? Like, what do the kids call them? Like, yo, pops, let's go to the blank. Do they call them the chow hounds?
The chow hounds.
The chow hounds. Okay. Yeah. See, I knew. So anyway, our local chow hound, Ebenezer. Shout out to Ebenezer, all you people who live near 272 in Everett.
Yeah, dude, everybody. I mean, my sister-in-law lives in Millersville, and she's weekly Ebenezer trips.
That's amazing.
Like, Ebenezer's the best.
So I didn't realize that they have several types of tea, like those little like plastic containers, and I was like, oh my god. And now I have like 3 types of tea, even though spearmint is still king of all kings. I'm kind of wasting a little bit of time because this isn't going to be a very long podcast, but I really also needed to mention that if there was an honorary spot number 11, it's me in about 3 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, tea fans.
I mean, to be honest, tea fans are they're like coffee fans, but like a little more pretentious.
Yes,
because you know they would be like, you drink coffee.
Everybody drinks coffee.
I drink
tea.
Okay. And this isn't even like, it's not even tea time in America. It's just like we just go out of our way to be like, oh yeah, it's like. You're standing. I mean,
tea. People in England aren't snobs about tea. They're just like whatever. Like they just drink whatever kind of tea there's available.
Tea people get number 11 because they would be the kind of person that like you would be just like in an elevator with, and they'd be like, I drink tea. Do you drink tea? It's really good for you. Antioxidants, and they would use all the buzzwords and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I don't know if I feel any healthier, but I do like the fact that like I feel like it's closer to water. Like, I know I'm supposed to be drinking water, but I don't like water, but this is as close as I'm going to get to water at this point, so, like, we're okay. And like I said, give me 3 months and I'll be on this list. So
it is not hydrating the way water is. Just throwing that out there.
I find it very hydrating, but I mean, it's like all it is water that soaks in tea leaves, so it's technically like 100% water. There's nothing about it that's not water at that point, right? You don't add anything to it.
Yes, you do. You're adding the tea and the caffeine. That's what's counteracting the hydration. But, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm always hydrated.
Believe what you want.
I'm always very hydrated. I'm probably the most hydrated person I know. I'm just very hydrated. So
and humble.
Starting, yes. Number 11 on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Tea. Okay? Number 10, starting into the actual list. This is what ended up. Oh, I should say that out of both of our lists, I think we agreed on. I don't have the exact list in front of me, but like 7 out of 10 of them, like 2 or
maybe 6. I think 6 out of 10.
Maybe 6. 2 to 4 on each of our lists, like didn't quite get it, and some of these kind of snuck on the list because they were relatively high up. For instance, number 10 is Disney World fans.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have this on my list, but upon Parker saying it and having it, I don't know, rather high on your list, it was like mid-tier, 5, 6, something like that.
Now, this is a designation from Disney fans. Disney fans have their own stuff going on, but specifically fans of the theme park are their own subset. Because there are people that, like, I know that, like, don't even really, they're not even huge Disney, like IP fans, like, you know, like the movies or the whatever, yet they like go to Disney World every single year and spend, I mean, that's so expensive.
It's crazy. Our one of my son's like friends in school, like they've already been to Disney World twice this school year. School started in September. It's February, and like 2 times already my wife was like, "Oh, they're at Disney," and I'm like, "Again?" And it's like, "Yeah, they have those passes or whatever." And it's like, Disney's like, I never really put this 2 and 2 together. I've been to both, Disney World and Disneyland.
Yeah, I haven't been to
which
Disneyland.
Is funny because like I'm the last. Like
it seems like you really like it. Wait a minute.
It's really, you know how sometimes stuff is wasted on people? That's wasted on me.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like Disneyland. It was
cool.
like it was like a cool, old schooly kind of feel. It was obviously 10 times more expensive than it should have been. But if Disney World was a place like the episode of South Park, Cartman Land, right, where I could just go around, I don't know if you ever saw that episode where he has for all of you out there, he has a theme park and he lets like almost no one in, so you can just go and do whatever you want at any time, right?
Yes.
So if Disney World was like that, I would have it stricken off the list in 1 second. And I'd be like, deal with it, Parker.
Yeah.
But Disney World is like the most popular, one of the top 3 most popular attractions in America. So it just brings people from everywhere.
Like world.
It's
a huge destination.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Times Square and that, right, in America, you know.
Right.
Maybe that even more. So it's like everything you want to do is lines. You're waiting in lines.
Yes.
There's the Indiana Jones ride or whatever is like an hour and a half, 2 hour line, right?
Oh,
you get, I don't know if you people have been to Disney World or Land recently, but you get tickets ahead of time.
Right. It does help a bit,
to stand in a shorter line.
Right.
It's called Park Hopper. So if I'm like, it's 1 p.m., I got a Park Hopper thing for Indiana Jones at 3 p.m. That means when I come in at 3 p.m., I can stand in a shorter line for it.
Yes.
And
still a line, but
Disney's like I said, Disney's it's a theme park. It's fun. You know what I mean? If it had even 1/2 or 1/3 of the people there, I would have it stricken off the record. But like in all things considered, unless you get really lucky and you go a day where it starts out nice and then gets really nasty and everyone leaves, right?
Or
like
vice
outside,
versa.
or vice
like
versa,
if it's
whatever.
Super
right?
nasty and
whatever.
everybody doesn't show up.
Unless you get lucky, you're going to go on a max for the entire day of like 7 to 8 rides.
Yeah.
Like, if you are lucky.
Yeah.
And it might be more like 4 or 5.
Right. Unless you want to pay $1 billion to have some extra fast pass thing or some nonsense. But like, again, you're talking like you're already spending like $1,000 plus for each person going. Like, you're like, I'm not spending any more money on this trip. I'm not doing it.
Let me also say that they chose to put it in friggin' Florida, which is like, okay, you have 1 week.
It is like basically you're underwater. Like it is basically underwater.
You have 1 week of which for not to feel like that.
Right.
And if you don't go at that time, forget it. Like when people are like, we're going
and
to
that's
Disney
when
World,
everybody
and it's
wants
like
to go.
It's like June or something like that. It's like, what are you doing to yourself, right? Like when we went to Disneyland, it was late September, and Anaheim is usually very temperate. It's supposed to be 60, 70 degrees. It was like 95 degrees that day, and it was the worst. Like, you have a very small period of time for it not to be the worst. So we're not going to harp on this too long, but like I said, it's fine, and like I said, it's cool stuff. Epcot's cool. There's lots of cool parts of it, but you are paying way too much for it. And
but the problem is that the thing about this is that the fan base.
Yes.
Like, you would think that this is like the greatest thing ever.
Yes.
And it's like,
absolutely.
And you go and you're like, I mean, it's cool. Like people should go once, but like people do not need to go multiple times.
Yes, I do feel like it's one of those you should just suck it up and go once.
Yeah,
and just be like, okay, cool, I've experienced it. But like the people that go twice a year or every single year and buy these huge things, it's like, and then it's like you have to go. It's just the best. Like give
and
me
they're like cult-ish.
Yes,
like the way they talk about it, they're like, oh, did you get the... And they all have, like, a lingo, and it's like...
And they might not even necessarily be the hugest of Disney fans, but they're, like, Disney park fans. Like, it's just, like...
Exactly.
Have to do it. So, like I said, the cult has to stop on that.
Yes.
Not a big fan. Heading up to number 9, you guys are going to start to be able to piece this list together pretty quickly. We have Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we need to say anything?
I mean,
right?
Yeah. I mean, like... There is, like, Harry Potter is, like, you know, a book and a movie, and, like, it's all, like, you know, pretty good, but, like, when you start talking about, like, what house you're in and judging people based on what house they say they're in, and you're like, you've lost me. Like, come on, man. Like, it was just, like, you know, just a nice little thing, but if it's, like, once it becomes that next level where it's like, oh, he's totally a Slytherin. I do not talk to him.
It's almost like the astrological signs, where like you act a certain way, and they're like I'm a Cancer.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, you're definitely a Cancer. I could never date a Cancer ever. I could never. Like, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? It's like I could never date a Slytherin kind of thing. You know, whenever people are like really serious about that, and they ask me, I always just say whatever the opposite of what they say. If they're like, I'm a Gryffindor, it's like, definitely Slytherin here.
Yeah, definitely.
And if they're like really super hardcore, then I try to say the one that no one remembers that I always... Ravenclaw? Okay. Is that's the least popular one?
I mean, for most people, it's Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff. That's right. That's right.
But yeah, Ravenclaws also can be
generally whatever they say. I say the opposite. Or if they're like you're definitely a Slytherin because you like are a leader and stuff. I'm like I'm definitely the opposite of that. I follow everyone everywhere. I cannot lead a man to save my life.
Yeah, for sure.
but yes, it's
that it gets like. Legit, the books are not well written. Like she's great at world building, but like there's all this extra stuff that doesn't need to be in there. They're very meandering. There's a whole bunch of like storylines that never get closed up, and they just happen to like fill book space or something. It's like so they're not exceptionally well written. They're not Lord of the Rings. Like they're not like masterpieces. And then the movies are like decent. Like there's the third one is great. The rest of them are just like fine. Like that's it. So like they're not even worth it. Like if there was there's very 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 small subset of people that are like Lord of the Rings crazy fans, but like that at least would be like okay, it's understandable. It's a masterpiece. Like the books are amazing, the movies are amazing. You can't really go wrong with like whatever. But like they're not crazy fans. They're just like, oh yeah, I like that stuff. I love Harry Potter fans are like, you would think that these are like the greatest books ever written, and they're just fine.
I mean, I read to my son the first one the whole way through, and I was like, that's pretty neat. The characters are neat. It's written by an 8-year-old.
Yes, it's just like,
and I'm no book snob. Like,
right.
Like I like dumb, easy stuff like Hemingway and stuff like that. Like that's my stuff.
And it's not bad that it's
crazy.
Like that. It just means it's fine. It's never gonna be like incredible because it's just all right, you know, like, and it's just whatever. But like, yeah, I don't understand like why it's like such a thing. Like,
all you really have to I think the main reason is like she did create like a pretty cool world.
Yes, the world building.
I enjoy that in like the PC games and stuff like
sure.
that. But like to take it to the point where it's like it ended like 10 years ago at this point, and it's still like. You would assume that it's like now continually going on, and there's all these rumors and stuff that people are always like, oh, she's making another thing, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wow. All you need to know that you don't want to know Harry Potter is just go to a bookstore and look at the complete sets and look at how, like, succinct the first 3, 4, maybe 5 books are, and then look at, like, the last 3. I think it's the second to last one.
From the 4th on.
Okay.
The first 3, she had, I mean, it's very much similar to what happened with George Lucas. The first few movies, he had a lot of editors and a lot of people that were on his case. I should say the first 2. By the third one, he started to get a little bit too powerful, and then by the prequels, it was crazy. And it's the same with her. First 3 books, she was like, had editors saying, you gotta cut this, you gotta cut this, you gotta cut this, keep it short. And then she became richer than God, and she could do whatever she wants.
Well, there's one of them you look at, it's like double the length of any other book.
Yeah.
I forget which one it is, but I'm just like, I can't imagine, like, a singular book has to be that long.
No.
Like, I've read, like, really complicated, like, math-proof textbooks. Like, a book that's, like, telling you how numbers exist in reality, and they're, like, 1/10 the length, and it's like, bud, you gotta cut it down. Like, that's just... I'm sorry.
I gotta explain.
It's not like War and Peace where they're like, I'm creating, like, in this one book, like, 1 billion characters, here's all their life stories forever and ever and ever, right? Like, every single day. It's like, no, dude, it's Wizards. So, Harry Potter, come on, calm down. It's been 10 years. Now let's do one that is currently going on, and that is Marvel. And I don't know if we want to be specific about... like, if it's, like, Marvel... like, it's mostly Marvel movies, let's be honest.
Yeah,
because
at this point,
CIB is a comic store, and there's plenty of people who pick up Marvel, like, books and stuff, you know? And Marvel does, like, they have some good series, they have some bad series, but there's very few people that I talk to that are, like, just go on and on about Marvel, like, comics, like, where they're just, like, end-all, be-all, can't be beat. So I think it's mostly the Marvel movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's... Like, at this point, because the movies have a greater reach, for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, like, the thing is, like they're like action movies, so they're basically like Fast and Furious or something. Like, that's the level that we're at. But, like, again, this is, like, it's more like the level of crazy devotion to the like the ratio of level of crazy devotion to quality of product is like out of whack.
It's always decently quality. They don't make
their quality's fine.
It's Disney, so it's never going to be bad.
Right. But it's like these aren't like they're not movies that you expect to like ever like win an award. Although Black Panther has been nominated for an Oscar, but like everybody's even. Most people are like, that's ridiculous. Because it's ridiculous. They're an action. It's a dumb, fun action movie.
With all the craziness that was going on with Infinity War, like, you would probably assume that's, like an absolute masterpiece of film, and it was, like, good. Yeah. Like, it was like, oh, that was cool. It was like a popcorn flick, where you're like, this is cool. You know, Doctor Strange's doing cool stuff. Cool stuff's happening. But it, like, when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay. You know, and this was, by the way, this was, like, a month, 2 months later or whatever.
Right.
But, like, you know, you're like, this is pretty dang good. But it's just like, really? You know, like, every single person for the first couple weeks was like, if you spoil it, I'm going to beat you up.
Yeah, everybody's mad about spoilers. And then they're, like, so serious about it. It's like, dude.
And some of the ones that, like, people, like Avengers is, like, the first one is, like, one of the highest rated movies ever. And it's just, like, a fun, action-y movie. Like, Marvel has, since it started its new cinematic universe in 2008, 2 movies that are Kino. Kino is, like, actual art, right? And that's Iron Man and Winter Soldier. Yes. Those are the 2 that are, like, actual, like, oh, wow, like, this is... Right. Some of them get there, like, the first half of the original Captain America is, like, whoa... You know, this is getting there. But then the second half is, like, very not great.
I wouldn't even...
But like I said, the whole way through, Iron Man and Winter Soldier are actual, like...
Right.
You could say films. Like, I watch films, you know? Everything else are, like, fun.
But even those 2, I would never in a million years, like, nominate for an award.
No.
I mean, the Oscars are kind of
name any top movie, right? Like, your favorite, like, film, like... Seven, American Beauty, whatever. It's like, it'll never be there. You know what I mean? Like, any of those will never be on that level, but going on every Facebook post, it certainly is. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta see, and again, people, the big deal with the fandom with this is people will, like, beat you up if you, like, spoil something. Yeah. And it's like...
Yeah, people get real stressed
out
about
this Infinity War movie is based on a 30-year-old comic book.
Yeah.
Like, if...
Yeah, seriously, it's like
it came out in like 1988, dude. Like, and it's like it's following it pretty good. So it's like
for sure.
You kind of know what's gonna happen for the most part. You know, it's not like a fresh new like No Country for Old Men, like the ending of it or whatever. You're like, oh, you know, it's like you knew what was coming there.
For sure. I don't know that it gets very intense with social media and stuff. People talking about and like, which one do you? But yeah, It's definitely like, I don't see that happening with, like I said, Fast and the Furious, or like, I'm trying to think of like another action franchise, like, that's still going on.
Transformers?
Like,
people don't really like that.
Yeah, but like, it's just like, no, that's the level we're at. I mean, they have a better quality than normal, but other than that, that's it. So it's like, just relax.
Yep. So, Marvel fans, calm your horses.
Yeah.
Yes, Avengers... Was it 4 or 3? Whatever. Avengers 4 is being made. We get it. You don't have to share, like, a single shot of Captain America.
Right.
He's wearing this shirt in this. It's like, and that means this. It's like,
my God.
Guys, it's like, especially, like, Marvel has the dates planned out so far in advance that I'm just like, Captain Marvel's coming out soon, but it was, like, announced it was coming out on an exact date, like, over a year ago, and someone's like, next March 2019. It's like, come on, like, I like looking forward to things too. But
right. Also, I mean, it's just so crazy, but like, it definitely like has like affected the story, because you're like watching like a movie and you're like, I wonder what's gonna happen, and you're like, oh well, there's a trailer for another one, so it's like, I guess that is fine. Like,
yeah, like Infinity War, it's like, do a bunch of them die, and then it's like. Avengers 4. It's like, well, probably also, most of them.
But then it's like Spider-Man. Like, there's trailers for Spider-Man, and it's like you're watching Infinity War, and you're like, oh wait, what?
It's like DBZ. Everyone comes back. So moving on to number 7, our first video game one. Actually, we have Pokemon.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to specialize this on anything. It's just kind of all Pokemon.
Just all of it. Absolutely.
So let me start with the games, and I think this is the major one because like Pokemon cards is not as big as it was. Pokemon the anime not as big as it was. Right. It was a phenomenon in the early '90s, and now the one thing that reigns supreme is the games. Right. For the most part, the games. Now let me talk about the games. Okay. So, like, they're good. Every time they're good. It's like Marvel. You know, like, Nintendo's not going to put out a main series Pokemon game that you're like, that was the worst thing of all time, right? It's like, they have...
I mean, like, with an asterisk. I mean, they're good, but they're still Pokemon games.
Yes, they're still Pokemon games, but the way people, like, talk about them, and especially... Okay, so, like, I know there's two big ways you can go about playing them. You can do them as if, like, it's, like, hardcore, like, battling, or you can do it as, like, a collection kind of thing, which, of course, I choose the collection kind of thing. But the way people talk about, like, Pokemon and battling and stuff like that is like it's a finely tuned, like, machine. Like, in terms of, like, the actual battles. Like, it's, like it's, like, a very competitive, finely tuned, almost like fighting game kind of thing.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, well, I have this one with this specific attack, blah, 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 and it's like... This will remind us of another one we have coming up later in the list, but it's like, it's a game for kids.
Right.
Like, you can still enjoy it. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah.
Like, comic books are for technically kids too, you know, certain ones. But, like, it is made, like, for kids. You can still enjoy it, but it's not like, oh, well, you know, I use all these special moves and blah, 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 and, like, I could take down anyone with my Pokemon team. It's like, I think you're missing the point at that point.
100%.
And just, I mean... Have you ever, like, been with really hardcore Pokemon fans? Like, do we need to say anything else? Like, they're just, like, they live, eat, and sleep Pokemon. They know, I mean, there's, like, 700-something of them, and they know, all of them, right?
And they're, like, talking about, like, the interactions and the better, it's like... Dude.
And, again, to make it clear, Pokemon games are not bad by any means.
Right.
Like, picking up a Game Boy and some of the old-school games is, like, not a problem in the world. They're awesome. But, like... We probably go, like, Pokemon is so far and away the most popular games for, like, the DS, 3DS, Game Boy Advance, that it's, like, the top 50% of all of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, why even have a Game Boy if you don't have Pokemon kind of thing? Absolutely. And it's, like,
and then I'll also say that, like, the other thing, like, I mean, this is not something that normal people would necessarily, have to interact with, but as, like, being involved in selling used video games, like, the people that come in to buy Pokemon games are also very annoying and specific, where, like, they will literally, like be super obsessed with, like, whether something is, like, fake or, like, the looking at label and, like, oh, this has a... And it's like, dude, this just... Like, play it or don't, but, like, leave me alone. I don't care.
They are very specific about that. We've had a lot of people, and I almost always say yes, but we've had a lot of people be like, I'm thinking of picking up a Pokemon game. Can I pop every single Pokemon game you have in my DS to see what Pokemon are on it? And it's like, I get it, but at the same time, I find the fun would be in starting and to do it, whatever. But it's like, oh, I can harvest all these good Pokemon someone traded in and didn't reset, and it's like... Okay. I don't know if you're getting the point of the game. Like, I feel like it's the journey, you know, not the destination, kind of thing. But yes, Pokemon people. Again, this is kind of one of those you just have to experience. Yeah. And if you're on a gaming channel, you probably have. But like, they are very specific. Yep. Let me put it this way: we have these little, very chintzy is a good word for them. These little Pokemon toys. We sell them 2 for $1. They're probably, I don't know, an inch or two high, right? Yeah. And they're just mass produced. It's just one of those things we buy.
It's like a mold thing.
Yeah, it's a mold thing. We buy them by the hundreds, right? And it just is what it is. Like, it's a nice, cute thing. We go through a lot of them. A lot of people like to pick them up for. They've told me they do them just to collect. Yeah. They told me they do them for like little like arts and crafts kind of things. Yeah. Like that's. But
also like if you have a kid at like like that aged at the video game store and you can't purchase like a $40 game, you could the kid wants something, so you can buy this little thing so that the kid feels like, oh, I got something.
Yeah, like, whatever. Yeah. I mean, like, you could get, I think we do 12 of them for $5, right? But probably 2 or 3 times let me start off by saying, because they make them in such great quantity, some of the colors are a little funky. Like, there's certain ones where, like, Slow Bro, instead of being exactly purple, will be, like, a yellowish purple. And, like, every single week, like, 2-3 times a week, someone will go through and be like, hey, that's not the color of that. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, we just kind of buy them in bulk, and they, like, I'll explain what I just did, and they'll be like, well, that's not the color of that one either. Look at this. This isn't the color of this one either. And I'll be like, yep. Yeah, like, we buy them in bulk, man. We buy, like, literally, like, 500 at a time. Like, it is what it is. And, like, you can even joke about it like it's unique. You can say it's a shiny. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a shiny one. Whatever. Like,
oh, no,
it's silly.
That's not what shinies look like. You're like, okay.
And it's like, all right. Like, after the 5th or 6th one of being like, Raichu's tail isn't like this. It's like, dude, they're, like, very cheap little toys for kids. Please. And that signifies Pokemon people for you there.
Absolutely.
So, moving on to number 6. We have technically an old school one here. Yeah. We have Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas is one movie from 1993. They made a PS2 game and a Game Boy Advance game for it, but obviously no one cares about that.
Right.
And wouldn't you believe it, in, like, every store you still go to 25 years later, the merch for what... Did you know that Nightmare Before Christmas is less than 70 minutes long? It's like 68 minutes long. So a lot of times you don't realize that, like, I don't realize this until I look at the runtimes, but a lot of the late 80s, early 90s Disney movies were very succinct.
Yeah.
So, like, Little Mermaid's like 75, 80 minutes long, right? And you're like, wow, how do they do that all? And it's like, that's the Disney magic from back in the day, right? But like, this movie was like barely an hour long, right? From 25 years ago, and the subculture it created and the fans it created are like, wow.
I mean, they literally are the reason that Hot Topic is able to be in business.
Yeah.
They literally, like, saved them through holidays and stuff, because, like, all that merch is so expensive and everybody had to have every little piece.
And let me say, I did not ever watch Nightmare Before Christmas until this year, when my daughter, who's very young but likes weird, silly stuff, found it on Hulu, and now we've watched it like 5,000 times. You know, as anyone with kids knows how it is. You watch it 5,000 times, you listen to it in the car 5,000 times, and I'll tell you the honest truth. I think it's really good. Like, I think it's a really good movie. I bought the sheet music for the piano, so I can learn some of the songs on piano. Like, Danny Elfman did a great job. Tim Burton, that he was at his prime there. Batman and all that kind of stuff. He did really good. It's a great movie. But the subculture it created for this one movie, like, it's not like this is the only thing in this series that's not like a very long running thing. Like, this is like technically one thing. Like, there was never a movie made after that. No one is ever referencing the PS2 game from 2005. Right. Like, it's just for that one movie. And it's amazing, like, how it can still be, like, so relevant. Even if people don't, like, mention it specifically, like, you see the Jack Skellington hats everywhere, you see this, like Parker said, the Hot Topic has been around just because of, like, constant, Jack Skellington apparel and all this kind of stuff. And if you're a little younger, if you're listening to a podcast like this and you're, like, less than 20, props to you. Like, you are awesome. But, like, if you're a little younger and you don't remember how it was in, like, the early to mid 2000s, you weren't, like, kind of a teen or adult back then, like the whole goth kind of thing, which really isn't a thing anymore. Like, that resonates a lot with us still, just because you're like, I remember that, right? Remember. And it was just like Nightmare Before Christmas, every single thing, like every single thing. And it's a shame because the movie is so good.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a case where the thing almost it makes a little bit of sense. Like, unlike the ones we've gone through previously, where, like, the quality on the thing is low enough that you're like, I don't get why everybody's freaking out. In this case, you're like, okay, the quality of the thing in question is actually really good, but it's like, it's still just one movie, period. Like, it didn't become a TV show. I mean, luckily, like, because, like, they could have very easily done that, but they didn't. And they didn't do that, yet somehow the merch is, like, on another level. Like, every single thing that can be merchandised has been merchandised for thing. And it's just insane.
And for 25 years.
Yeah. So crazy.
I can't think of a single singular movie, TV show, whatever that has like garnered this subculture.
Yeah.
I mean, like seriously, the closest
thing
I can think of is people reference The Big Lebowski like
right.
all the
yeah,
time.
The Big
but
Lebowski's
the only thing they're gonna do is reference it and like for Halloween dress up as the dude.
Right.
They're not gonna be like, oh, I bought the merch. You know, like once in a while you'll see a T-shirt, right? But like that's rare. You know, but it's
absolutely.
like it's not like, oh, I'm so sick of Big Lebowski fans.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
it's not,
also very good.
Right.
Also very good. But it's not like a subculture like this. That and you're just like, dude. Like you see like the Nightmare Before Christmas people and you're just like, dude, what's going on? Yeah. Anything to add for that one? I think we got.
Yeah.
Okay, heading into the top 5. Here's where it gets to the nitty gritty, and we're starting with our second video game one, The Legend of Zelda at number 5. Have you met a Zelda fan? They will. I think almost more than any other, even though there's other video game stuff that's higher, almost more than any other spot on the list, you're more likely to find somebody who literally only plays Zelda games and nothing else than blank games.
Right.
Like, yes, there's a lot of people who are like, I get Call of Duty every year, but it's likely that they'll have like a Madden or some other casual game, right? Some other shooter game, whatever. But there's many people that like just play Zelda.
That's the
like,
only game.
They'll pick up a Nintendo Switch just for Zelda.
Buy a whole console.
Buy a whole console just
game.
for Zelda. And again, let us not mince words here. Zelda is, for the most part, fantastic. It's great. Especially, I love the older 2D ones. The newer 3D ones are fun as well.
There's like some standout ones, but like a lot of them are just fine.
Yeah.
Like again, this is what we're talking about.
But and like for a series again that like yes, there are side series ones.
Right.
But the fandom. The people aren't talking about those. They're talking about the main ones: Ocarina, Majora, Wind Waker, whatever. For a series that comes out with a game every like 3 to 5 years. And really only has, I'm not going to name them, but like, I'd say maybe less than 10 in the main series if you don't count the ones that are like, kind of side stories. Like, this fandom is crazy. I mean...
Yeah, intense.
Let's do a thought experiment here. Close your eyes. How many people do you know that have Zelda tattoos on their body? 3. 3.
That's great. Yeah, I mean,
Nick has one too.
Does he?
Yeah. He has the Triforce. It's small. It's on his wrist, but he has one too. So 4.
Yeah,
I know 4 people,
especially because of the Triforce being so little. Like I can imagine so many people now have it.
I know 4, and that's people crazy. I know where it's like obvious, you know, not like something they have on their back or whatever.
Right.
And again, Zelda is good. It's a good series, right?
Right.
No problems at all. But the fan base, I mean, acts like they can do no wrong, and you know, more than any other series, like I said, you're more than likely to find someone who's like, I only really play Zelda. Like, I don't really play games except for Zelda. And it's just like, wow, really? And of course there's, you know, every game that's like high up in the series, they like love so much that it's all like Ocarina of Time is always going to be like top 5 on the list of best games ever. And like grown roll eyes, you know what I mean? Just like just every list, every casual person's list, even some very hardcore people like video game person's list will be like, oh yeah, Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy 7, top 2, no question. And for 2 games I actually love but would never consider, you know, like top 10 kind of games. I don't know, do you have any Zelda specific experiences or
I mean I don't want to call anybody out, but we do know a person that's literally painting their vehicle with Zelda all over it. But yeah, like
yes,
it's just one of those like intense like you can't really like question things around it, like similar with Pokemon. Like if you were to be like, I mean, Pokemon's fine, like you know what I mean, like it would be like a backlash.
Whoa,
you know?
what are you saying?
What do you mean?
And, also, here's another part of the fan base I just remembered. There's this Zelda cycle, I call it. We might have talked about it before. For the most part, now, excluding Breath of the Wild, because once in a while they'll have a game that's universally loved upon release.
Right.
Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are the 2 that I can think of the modern era, right? There's this Zelda cycle where a new Zelda will come out, and for the most part, everybody will be lukewarm about it because every Zelda game is different.
Right.
So they'll be used to the way it was before.
Yep.
Let's say Ocarina of Time. They're so used to it. Then Majora's Mask comes out, and I will tell you 100%, I will raise my right hand in oath here. People, for the most part, did not like Majora's Mask when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
It was too different, it was weird, it was tough to figure out, and most importantly, it wasn't Ocarina.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And nowadays, can you find me any negative words for Majora's Mask?
I know, it's crazy.
Not at all. They re-released it on 3DS. It's a game that we go through all the time at the store for any system. Same thing for Wind Waker. I specifically remember being in early high school and having long, because this is what you did in high school or middle school, long arguments about the graphics of Wind Waker. It did that cel-shaded thing, right? And there were a lot of people who were like, I will never play it because of that. It looks like a childish thing. It's stupid because we were used to Ocarina and Majora at that time, and this was more of a childish kind of thing.
Yep.
Again, go find me, other than fringe people just being trolls, people who are like, I really hate Wind Waker. Yeah, people will have, certain small problems with it, the sailing's boring and stuff like that. But find me people who are, terrible. It's terrible, right?
Or specifically that because it looks terrible.
Right,
Which is
and then, 5 years later, it's loved. The same thing's going to happen with Skyward Sword eventually. When that game came out, everyone was like, for the Wii. And give me 5 years and it'll be truly loved. Even though it does the Wii waggle and all that kind of stuff, people will, love it more than anything. It's every single, every single time with the exception of a few, can't miss, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, where people will just well, we always love it. It's and those are the top games in the series anyway. But everything else that comes out, it's okay. 5 years later, it's the best. So recency bias, Zelda fans. It's a good series. Let it change itself every time. Stop freaking out about that.
Yep.
And we're moving on to number 4, which is about to be ending soon. Game of Thrones. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but there are probably multiple YouTube channels that just show people in public bars watching Game of Thrones as it comes out. Together, right. So, these people will, go to, public bars where there's, 50, 80, 100 people, whatever, right there,
right.
And all watch Game of Thrones together, and, yeah! Oh!
And not re-watching it, we watched it at home, but now we're watching it at the bar. I could maybe understand that. Hey, let's watch it together after we watched it on our own.
No. As it's airing.
As it's airing.
Watch
together.
Parties. Have you ever, seen anything like that for, a show? And, again, a bar is a little bit different than, a movie theater where you're, expected to, sit down, shut up, watch the movie, right? But, imagine walking into this bar and then being like,
what's happening?
What the hell? Can I get a shh?
Yeah.
I just need a beer shh. Okay. And,
People
I said...
get so intense when you watch them, too. They're, yelling at each other.
I've seen... we're caught up now. I've watched almost every episode. In fact, probably every... No, I watched the first couple seasons myself with Ash, and then the rest with Parker, and, it's good. There's some times where it's kind of boring, but, for the most part, it's a pretty dang good show, right? It's good. But there's, very few times, if you watch these videos on YouTube, everything, they're, sitting on every word. They can be it can be, a silly scene, and they're like...
yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people, I don't know if they're pretending, that they know the story so well or something, but, man, they seem to, literally, freak out when, something that, I'm I've read the books and seen every episode multiple times, and I'm that has minor significance. It's just oh, yeah, that's cool, they're tying up that end. They'd be like, oh my god!
Like I said, just watch any of those videos. Just kind of skip through it real quick. And it's not big death scenes we're talking about. It's anything they're like, and you're dude, please let this show end. Just please. Let it end at this point. I'm kind of dumb at this stuff, and there's a lot of damn characters, and a lot of the characters have very complicated names. Yes. So me and Ash will
complicated storylines.
Ask Parker every episode. Will be what was that?
Whatever.
What was that? Right? But these people apparently know every single they're that much I'm not the smartest dude in the room, but they're that much smarter than me that they're I knew that was happening. Whereas I'm can you pause it so you can explain, like, dude, like, there was some stuff that happened in the second to last season, you're like, all right, so remember in season 1,
yeah,
and literally that's what you, and you're like,
1.
you haven't seen this dude since season 1, and I'm like, oh, imagine if you watched it, like, as it came out, you're talking, like, 7 or 8 real-life years, that you're like, oh, that small character just came back and was important now. It's like, give me a freaking break. It's a good show, but, like, dude, like, 6, 8, 9 months ago, when they, like, announced that they were, like, making it, people were like, June 2019, or whatever it is, April 2019 it's coming out. It's just like, bro, if you have to, like, mention something like, oh, Super Bowl 54, February 3rd, 2019, or 2020, it's like, come on, bud. Like, it'll be here. It's time keeps on ticking. You don't have to be like, dude, time just hurry up so I can watch Game of Thrones in 9 months. It's like, bud, it'll be here. Like, and you're not a kid. Like, a kid is different. Like, a 5-year-old, like, a day is like a million years,
control,
right? Like,
it
whatever.
Takes forever,
but
and
it's
you
like,
want it now.
Oh, I can't wait for this. Like, it's like, I think it's only 7 episodes for the last season, too. Or something, 5 episodes, something like that. But they're, like, longer than normal.
Yeah, it's like 2 half seasons. Or
right. But anyway, it's like, at this point, like, I really can't see a situation where, like, even a majority of the people are happy with however they choose to end it, just because everyone's like so invested in this, and they're not just enjoying it for like you can like characters and dislike characters, don't get me wrong, right? Like, there's when certain characters come back, you're like, yeah, whatever, but like, y'all are very invested, like, very invested in this show.
It's intense.
Very intense. So yeah, watch those YouTube videos of people watching it at a bar.
Yeah,
it's just
definitely.
skip through it. It's so good. Number 3, we're getting to the Holy Trinity. This one's big one. We have Nintendo. Listen, again, you're 46 minutes into listening to this podcast with us. You're probably pretty hardcore about games. You know that Nintendo fan.
Yep.
I'm not talking about the people who are like, oh, I have a Switch. Or, I had a Wii and I like it, or, like, even, I like all the Mario and Donkey Kong games. We're talking, there's a specific phrase for them. It's Nintendrones.
Yes.
Nintendrones are, more than anything, Nintendo can do nothing wrong. And there are a lot of them. You might not even know it, but there are a lot of them. Every single thing that they do is...
I mean, here's the thing. Here's, like, the main thing that is crazy. Like, Nintendo makes... like gaffes or whatever you want to say, mistakes when it comes to like releasing like new like things. In like, one of their gaffes would be like a company ruiner for another company, like where it'd be like they did this wrong and it'd be like, well, never heard from them again, like that's it, it's over, you know what I mean, like whatever. But like Nintendo just does it and just gets away with it because like everybody's just like, oh, it's fine. And it's like, why is it fine? Like, I just don't get why like they can just keep doing the same dumb stuff and like effing over fans, effing over actual fans that want the thing that like they're excited about and that Nintendo worked hard to make, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it impossible to get.
So yeah, I could literally do an entire episode on this. Just some bullet points. For the longest time, including now, special like editions and amiibos and stuff, impossible to find. Where like even hardcore fans that just want to own it, like, have to go out of their way to pre-order it specially, to just take time out of their workday to try to find this.
Yes,
just
exactly.
all this nonsense. Many myriad of problems with the Switch. The Switch is a great system.
Right.
When Nintendo came out and said that, oh, the Switch, it costs a little bit to do per month so you can play online.
Right.
Like, the Switch has very, very limited online functionality compared to the PS4 and Xbox One, right? But people complain all the time about the fact that you have to have PS Plus and Xbox Live, right? Yeah. I haven't heard anyone complain about the fact that you have to pay to play Nintendo Online when like the servers are terrible. They still have friend codes. Yeah. In 2019, they still have friend codes. Like long,
there's
no
drawn out numbers, and you're like,
there's no virtual console on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, there's no...
I mean, who knows? Like, maybe it's coming soon, but the fact that they haven't even announced it...
It's been out for 2 years.
The fact that they haven't announced it, like, that would be like a console seller if they were going to do that.
Let's see. Nintendo constantly... And again, every company does this, don't get me wrong. Nintendo constantly reformats their games. A lot of the biggest sellers on the Switch are Wii U games ported, and they are always $60. They just came out with New Super Mario Brothers, which was a Wii U game, right? Which came out years and years ago for the Switch. It's like literally the same thing with some extra characters, right? And it's $60 and it sells like hotcakes. Like, just imagine, like, another company like Capcom just remastered Onimusha for the PS4, and it's $20.
Yeah.
Right?
If they tried to sell it for $60, people would be like...
people, myself included. So Last of Us came out in 2013, right? At the end of the PS3, and then they ported it with HD graphics for the PS4, right, the next year, for $50. And people freaked out. Like, $50 for a game that came out on the PS3, right? Like, and that's $10 less, right? And that was like a thing. Like, now that the game is like $20 brand new, of course no one complains, but back then it was like a big thing, right? Nintendo does it over and over again. Dude, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze for the Wii U, right? When it was brand new, cost $50, and for the Switch port, it costs $60. It's literally more than it was brand new on the Wii U. And again, like, there will be, people obviously complaining, but like, there is a huge percentage of Nintenders that, like, Nintendo can do no wrong. Like, I like my PS4, but, like, I will admit every single day that Sony is a very flawed company. Like, they give up on ideas too fast. They have really silly ideas.
Yep.
They have the PlayStation Vita that they gave up on, all this kind of stuff. The PSVR, I'm looking in it, I'm like, I really hope they don't give up on that, right? There's a million things, right? But I still like my PS4, but, like, these Nintenders, you can't say anything negative about it. Like,
nothing negative. They'd be like, they defend it and get all... And it's like... such very easy, like, it's just like obvious. Yeah, they messed up. Like, just say it. No, dude, it's because of this and this and this and this. Like, why wasn't the NES and SNES Classic that, like, everybody wanted? Why wasn't there enough available for everybody at the holidays? Like, it was something everybody was excited about. Oh, because it's like
supply and demand.
Why?
Man.
Like, why though? There's no reason. They could have printed those for 100 years and it would have sold. And it's like,
I work with a Nintendo, and it's funny to just like bring stuff up to him, and he's just like, well, like no one really wants Virtual Console anyway.
Like legit. I remember this person going on about the game ARMS for like. The Switch game, right? That fighting game, ARMS, for like, oh man, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be tournaments.
It's gonna have like a competitive scene.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy. I'm so excited. Finally, a new game besides Smash. And then like now it's just like you're like, what happened to ARMS? And it's just like not even like, oh man, they met like what a terrible like he'd still be like. Well, it was good, but like it just didn't get the support.
No, Smash came out, so whatever,
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's fine. It's just like, they messed up. Like, why just say it? Just say it. They screwed up. It was a bad game, and they also released it poorly. Like, that's it. That's easy to say. You can say that about anything. I don't understand what the problem is.
And in that way, Nintendo is very analogous to Disney in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Like, Disney has less like straight up failures than Nintendo does.
Yes.
But Disney has a lot more of the soulless, just kind of like, but like, again, the fan bases are just like constantly excusing like this billion-dollar company where you're like, bud, like, if it was the other way around, I would get it, but like, you don't have to excuse them. They're just fine. You could,
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to the top two. This is the final two we're talking about, and number 2 is Pickle Rick and Morty, baby. Now,
number 2 is Pickle Rick. Number 1 is Rick and Morty. Specifically, just the subset of fans who are only into Pickle Rick. No, yeah.
So
Rick and or Morty.
So for the longest time, I did not see a single episode of Rick and Morty.
Right.
I'm going through, quote unquote, going through the first season. of Rick and Morty, which I heard is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's very hit or miss for me.
Like all the seasons are good. Like it's an okay show. Like it's
some episodes are pretty dang good, and some I'm like, nah, whatever. Like I forgot it instantly, kind of thing.
Exactly. But, I mean, it's definitely on par with like the best seasons of Futurama or the best seasons of The Simpsons. Like, it's a good animated show. It's got good humor in it. The premises are fun, like interesting, but like it is not worth what fans put it into and what fans like treat it. Like the whole like IQ thing, like that meme that everybody jokes about, like it's super real. Like you might think like that's just people saying that, like no. I constantly have heard people be like, well, did you understand that? And it's like, dude, it's just a cartoon.
It's a cartoon,
like, literally.
Bro.
It is not hard to understand. Just relax. Stop it.
Yeah, the meme is, to be fair, you really do have to have a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. But, like, that's a thing where people will legitimately be like, you probably didn't understand. Like, if you're like, I don't think it's that great, you'd be like, you're one of those people.
Yeah.
Us high IQ people. Because, like, in a way, sometimes the show is a little, like, just pretentious in the way it does itself. But that's its comedy, and that's fine.
Right.
Like, that's just how it does it.
And it, like, is very self-aware, makes fun of that, and this and that. But, like, it's still, like, just a show that's okay. Like, that's it. Like, it's a good show. It is not fan worth. Like, it is just not. I just don't see how it became what it is.
It's pretty much everything that we've talked about before. The crazy merch, the people who really don't give it any like say anything wrong about it. You know, crazy fan base, but you add the layer of pretentiousness. Like Nintendo, all these other ones have like a small layer of pretentiousness, but it's nothing like Rick and Morty.
Yeah,
the pretentiousness puts it over the top.
Yeah, if like in like Nintendo, like if you say like, oh man, they messed this up or they messed that up, like you will be met with people saying like, I disagree because of this, and like giving you a lot of excuses and you just being annoyed. If you do that with Rick and Morty, it's just the knowing look like, yeah, you don't understand, and you're like, what do you mean I don't understand? It's just a fine show. Like, I don't need a... yeah, you don't get it.
And that makes everyone 1,000 times worse.
It's just like, what are you doing? Just leave it... Unreal.
And now it has 1 million episodes that it's signed for that'll never get made because the creator is muy loco.
Insane.
Just look him up. It's just... Dan Harmon, look him up. Just on YouTube, on Google, just have fun. There's things, my man. All right, and moving on to number one. I forget, I think this was my number one, and it might have been Parker's number 2 or number 3. Again, I don't have the list in front of me, but it was, let me put it this way. Rick and Morty and Nintendo technically tied at the 2 spot. So we had tiebreakers, but Smash was number 1 by at least a couple points, which means that they were... Dang it, I just said it. Super Smash Brothers. Yes. Number 1 right there. It was number 1 by a pretty good amount.
Yep.
So where do I begin? It's technically a Nintendo property, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you one thing real quick, folks. This is a game, right?
This is a game
made for, like, parties and, like, hey, you're over. You want to play this?
Right.
The fact, like, I grew up playing...
a tournament?
I grew up playing Smash 64 quite a bit. I was always terrible, and I will absolutely say that this has nothing to do with my listing on this, because, like, I appreciated it. Like, I always lost, but I appreciated it. It was, like, a really neat thing, right? Smash 64... silly fighting game with a bunch of different Nintendo characters, right? Just a super fun kind of party game. But imagine if people took Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario Baseball, Mario Soccer as seriously as people do Super Smash Brothers. Like, people tell me all the time, well, nowadays Smash Brothers is made as a competitive fighting game, right? How can you have a competitive fighting game where, like, Mario's the main character and there's, like, 80 characters in this newest one? Like, it is a game... So, like... Okay. To make it into this competitive, like, ultra-competitive, like, tournament-ready thing, you have to strip the game of everything that makes it fun.
Right.
So imagine if it's like Mario Kart, right?
Imagine Mario Party, and it's like, oh, but there's like no special dice, and there's no whatever, and there's no whatever. And you'd be like,
all it is just a die roll, then a mini game, then a die roll, then a mini game. That's it ever. There's no item. So again, to make it this competitive thing, you turn off items. You only use a very few amount of the dozens of stages, right? Of whatever game it is, you use like 2, 3. I think there's 6 in the newest game you use.
Yep.
Everything else, it's like, forget about it. Don't even use it. Don't even unlock it, right? Yes, everyone has their certain characters, but when it comes down to it, the same 10, 15, top 25% is used for everyone. Just imagine a Mario Kart if it's like, well, we play Mario Kart pretty seriously, okay? We don't have any items. We only do Star Road, and we make sure that we only use Toad is generally considered the best character.
And only 1v1, never 4-player.
Yeah, only 1v1. Imagine if somebody told you that. You'd be like, you're crazy. Like, you're on, like, what are you talking about? If you want a game like that—that's very hardcore. Then
there's so many fighting games.
Well, I was just saying, like, even like a Mario Kart, like Gran Turismo, blah blah blah. If you want a fighting game that's like very hardcore, boot up your PS2 with Virtual Fighter 4. It's like very technical.
There's so many. There's so many very technical fighters.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to make.
There are so many very technical fighters that I can't even list them all because many of them come out and are so technical that they're not popular enough to like have a sequel. Or like King of Fighters, right? There's a million of those, and like whoever plays them because they're so gosh darn technical, right? So stop taking a game that was made for like fun party things where you're like, hey, do you ever play GameCube before? Let's do this real quick, man. Yeah, whatever. Like, and make it into something where, okay, look this up on Google. Search Smash, quote-unquote, God drops out of tournament. Okay? And I'll explain the rest. This will just tell you how crazy people are about Smash. I forget the guy's name, but he was considered the Smash God, quote-unquote, of Super Smash Melee, right? There was this big tournament that he was about to enter, and he dropped out of it. Why, you may ask? He dropped out because his controller functioned. Okay, what? So there is, because this game is so crazy, frame perfect, and highly competitive, that he had this one out of, I think it's like every 100 GameCube controllers has this very small inherent flaw with it.
Yeah.
But the flaw is perfect for Smash because it makes it a little bit faster, right?
Yep.
Whatever. I don't know what the flaw is, but that's...
Right. There's some sort of electronic glitch inside where they,
it makes it slightly better for whatever reason,
one out of every 100 gets printed with the wrong, like, circuit board and blah, blah, blah. Whatever.
So his controller broke. His special whatever controller broke. So he couldn't just get another GameCube controller and just play.
No.
Instead of that, he dropped out of the tournament.
Yeah.
Literally imagine if, like, Brett Favre was like, my cleats broke.
Yeah, sorry. No, not my cleats broke. My one cleat is working.
Okay, yeah. Dude, like, what's...
It's so hard to, like, come up with, like, a comparison. Cause
Michael
so
Jordan's like, my shorts are normally too tight.
Yeah.
But now they're not tight enough.
Yeah.
And I can't play.
Yeah.
I
quit.
Sit me out. Just sit me out. Just sit me out. I can't do this, right?
Like, what?
Or like you bounce the ball and you're like, normally this bounces this exact height. I'm sorry. I can't normally do it. Like, imagine that being a thing. Like, I'm not saying you have to just go in with some third-party GameCube controller, but the fact that he was like, I would never in enough time be able to, because I have to go to like these game stores and just be like, can I check out every GameCube controller you have? And then I have to test it rigorously and make sure that it's broken in the correct way, kind of thing. That's the perfect microcosm of Super Smash Brothers. Like,
so
and again, I would still groan mightily if it was for like Street Fighter or King of Fighters or whatever. I'd be like,
absolutely.
You're too hardcore for me, man. But those games have always been made that way. And it's not, like, no one's ever been like, Street Fighter's a party game, right? Like, Street Fighter 4, like, where everyone was like, I think that's the one
or
that
like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right,
like
right.
Street
Fighter Third Strike, whatever. Like, you play it for fun, but you're never like, I'm really good at this game, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're not. And it's like, there's only a few people that do the frame perfect kind of stuff.
Right.
But, like, that's everyone nowadays. Like, like there are so many people that like, and like again, Smash is fun, but like to make it so competitive and have all these tournaments, we have tournaments.
They basically took a game that's fun and made it into a game that's not fun.
Yeah, and that is 100% the fan base. Yeah. Because everything is still there to make it fun. They still have items, they still have all this stuff, they still have all these different silly like game modes, and it's just tournament style, items off, only Genesis 6 stages, and that's it. And it's like, just like, I don't know, it's just like, you're an NFL team, and you're like, run plays up the middle only, sorry, that's all we do. We don't do any of this other fancy stuff, because that's how it's meant to be, just run plays up the middle, 4 yards at a time. I just, we have tournaments at a CIB for it, and like I said, I'm not against Smash. I think it's a fun game. I'm glad it brings people in. I'm glad people enjoy it. But when people take it to the point where they're like, I have to play this on a tube TV. Like, even the newer ones, it's like, I have to, like, convert it over to a tube TV. Like,
well,
I can't.
Just evidenced by the fact that, like, you're like, I just want to bring people in, so I'm having a free-to-enter tournament for store credit at the store, and, like, we always end up getting, like, at least, like, a fraction that are, like, just take it way too seriously and are not fun about it.
Dude,
and you're like,
sometimes
this is just a fun thing to do on a Saturday.
Like, people have, like, they'll call in and they'll have, like, a ton of questions about the specific rule sets, and I'll always have to, for the other employee, the one who runs it, I'll have to, like, hand him the phone over, because I'm like, I don't really know, And it's always, like, very, like, highly, like, butthurt, I guess is a good way of putting it. There's like always something crazy that happens, and it's like can't believe that.
Yeah, you'll say like, it's only this guy, or we don't have this guy in it, or you can't play as this. What?
That's the only thing. That's the only way I play. I don't do any. Like, I play Madden online a lot, and if you were like, I don't even use the pats a lot, right? But if you were like, you can't use the pats, but I can't play. I can't play without the pat. I'm sorry. There's 31 other teams, and a lot of them are good. Yeah, but that's the only team that I use. I can't even consider it. Yeah. And it's constant. And
but also, if they just were like,
ending.
I guess I won't enter then, would be fine. But that's not what it goes. It's like a fight. It's like an argument. It's like immediately like questioning what you're doing, and it's just
even the guy who runs the tournament for us is very hardcore Smash. He's a Smash drone or whatever you're gonna call him. So some guy was like, can I use a wireless GameCube controller? And he was like, no, because the big tournaments don't allow them. Here's the reason: because when you have a ton of wireless controllers going at the same time, there's small interference that can be picked up, like to like very minutely change like, I guess, how fast things get picked up. Yeah. And I'm like, but dude, it's like one person asking. He's like, no, can't do it. It's just. But like, I think he like jokingly was like, if he wants to lose, and it's right. Dude, come on.
But also like you were like it was funny because your initial reaction is like, no, you can't do that because it's annoying as all get out when people like sync their controller and then literally forget, and then they're outside like vaping or something, and then it's like, oh, somebody's connected still, and it's like messing with everything, and it's like, that's the reason. Just tell them that. Instead, he's like, I'm launching into this whole thing about like millisecond lag or something. It's like
99% of the community uses blah 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 blah, and it's just like, dude, come on. And like, it's a strong community. I was talking to GHK the other day. He goes to tournaments sometimes, right? And he was saying how there was this like one thing that happened at the tournament where like he said it got like really dicey. And I was like asking him like what happened with that, and I was like, were like people getting into fights? And he was like, no, there was a lot of backhanded stuff said on Twitter. And I'm like, that's it. That's perfect. Like, imagine going to this thing and there's all these people, and instead of just being like, dude, what the heck, right? Or like whatever beef you have with them, like literally just going on Twitter and being like, blah 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 dot 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 dot, kind of thing. Can't believe dot 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 does this dot dot dot. You know what I mean? It's like it's
legit like like I remember we found people talking about one of the free to enter fun tournaments.
Every tournament we've ever run has been free to enter. You can have as many people as you want. Any age can join, and you get store credit for winning.
Right.
So preface that with that.
Yeah, and then we found these comments from people being like, "Oh, totally just like nuked this like 6-year-old or whatever. Ha 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 ha. LOL, wrecked it. Blah, blah, blah." And it's like, are you kidding? Right? Are you seriously?
Didn't let him get a hit on me and stuff like that. It's like, dude,
are you seriously
I don't
bragging about your free to play tournament against a literal 10-year-old?
Like that would go above. That would go above and beyond. Like it would take a special kind of person or someone, frankly, who doesn't care about the game to like literally lay down and be like, I'm like, if I played against a 6-year-old, I would lose to the 6-year-old, like on purpose or not. Hell, he'd probably beat me normally, right? But like, still, I would be like, I would lose and be like, dang, dude. I mean, I guess that's part of having kids and just being like I'm the dad who like lets them win at everything, even though I'm like want to win so bad. And I know there's gonna come a time where they win anyway when they're older, but like I'm like, you know, whatever, parenting styles and all that. But like these people were like, didn't let him get a hit on me. It's like, let him get like a bunch of hits on you
online,
and then
like,
do it. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh God. And it's just like that's like being proud of that, like just if it's like 3 stock, let him take a stock off you, so like you can be like, oh, I got a life off him, Dad, or whatever. It's like,
right.
Oh, I got perfected. It's like, yeah, like that's not like from what I see. I've heard from the employee.
Here's the thing. Like I look at I go to a lot of Magic the Gathering like tournaments, and like for the most part like standard can be kind of like crappy like that. But, like, a lot of times at tournaments, like, people are very, like, quick to help, like, a new player and just be like, oh, yeah, let me explain this, how this works to you. And, like, they'll, like, you know, not necessarily, like, lose to a kid, but they might be like, here, let me show you how to play this better. And then the kid would go, oh, cool. And then, like, you know, get a little bit better. And then this, and it's very, very, like, you know, positive. Like, because it's like, these people are we are investing in the future of the community. Like, now there's going to be new people coming up that are excited about this thing, and they like are going to build their deck with their ideas, and that's exciting. And Smash is not like that. Like, Smash is like, we don't care if we never play with a single person ever again. If it's just me and my friends in like whatever. Like, it's like that's not okay.
I've heard people have told me that it's not that way, but that's not what I see.
Right.
And again, how can Magic? If you've been in certain poorly run stores, you've seen the people who are like, you know. Right, but absolutely. I've been the person there that is the one that's like, I don't own a card. And they're like, dude, just use my deck. And like, you'll like go to do something and they'll be like, do this instead. You know, kind of thing. Like, absolutely. I've been the person on the other side, and it's like, dude, thanks. Like, I don't expect you to beat me. Like, I don't expect for you to let me beat you, but like the way you get someone to quit Magic forever, right, is to be like, laid this out and I beat you on turn 1. Yeah. Like, I would never play Magic again. Like, I would just be like, oh, that's Magic.
Yeah,
like I would literally never play again.
Or like, actually you misplayed this, and so therefore I can do this and win. And you're like, why didn't you just?
Obviously, if you're both very hardcore, then great. If you make a mistake, whatever. But like, for an obvious noob, like if you're gonna do that, it's just like, well, okay, I don't like this game then. Like, if that's what this game is, where like a bunch of people will just be like, I beat you on the first turn, I'd be like, this game isn't for me.
Yeah.
Even on a casual level, it's not for me.
But like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing that does not exist in the Smash community, is anybody being like, like, what we need to invest in the future of this community by like treating new players well. And it's like, nah, I'm just gonna wreck you. And like, oh, you gotta learn. This is how you learn. It's like, oh man, that is not.
That's like,
that is how you get only the worst people, because only the worst people would be like, put up with that garbage, you know? Because you're just like breeding them into that, and then they're just like also terrible, and then it's just like not.
That's like the Tiger Woods dad way of it. It's like 3 years old. You're gonna putt 1,000 times a day, kid. But I like other stuff. Nope. You know, it's just like, and it's like, I'll beat you every time, you know, in golf, boy, you know, kind of thing. And it's like, wow, I'm really good at Smash now, but I really hate it.
Yeah, but I hate it. I hate it the most.
I really hate it. So, yeah, that's, like I said, that's clear and away. I don't think that there's anything on this list that we would consider higher than Smash. That's our number one. If you guys out there have one that you would like to switch with any of ours, or even have an idea of a number one higher than Smash Brothers, again, in non-sports entertainment, let us know. You're going to have to give us a pretty convincing argument because, like I said, especially if you just lived it, go to any tournament. Like, it doesn't have to be a big one where you have to pay to get into. Just go to, like, a small one being hosted somewhere and just be there and be like, whoa. And again, that it clicks almost every other thing. Like, there's the merchandise with all the amiibos and stuff like that. Yeah. There's the pretentiousness. Yep. What else is there? There's the only plays that. Like, a lot of these people, like, legitimately, like, I don't want to say only, because it's not, like a full adventure game like Zelda, but, like, they almost exclusively only play Smash. You want to do something else? I just play Smash. You know?
Yeah, no, sorry.
Everything else they click, and then you just add just everything's terrible.
Yep, everything's terrible.
So, that's about all we have for you today. I think the next couple ones we're going to be bringing you some game reviews, some stuff in the Resident Evil series, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
I think that's our most popular series by far for doing them. Mm-hmm. And then maybe one of these days Parker will actually beat a certain one with Leon S. or a certain couple with Leon S. Kennedy. Oh baby. Thank you much. We'll see you next time, and Parker, take us out.
Division 2, great game. You should play it.
Go.
Division 2 fans are the worst.
Go New England, worst fans out there. See ya.